Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Did we all have a good weekend? Well, happy? Well, pleased? For some reason, I feel like no is the answer to that question. However, we've got to move on. We've got to move on and look towards the next game here at Celtic, which is one I'm not looking towards favourably. It's a great time to be a Celtic fan. Things are very exciting. Let's have a look at what's in the week ahead. We've got some news to talk about. We obviously have Hibs midweek. Things, yeah, not great at the minute. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated as we try and get towards 50,000 subscribers this year. Go down below, it's absolutely free. You'll get your daily Celtic content, unless it's a day like yesterday where I had no motivation in my body anywhere to talk about Celtic Football Club. However, we're back to it now, aren't we? It wasn't a great weekend for Celtic, was it? We dropped points once again this season as we allow Rangers once again to edge closer towards us in this title fight that we find ourselves in. There was a point this season where you could say Celtic were looking like strong favourites to take the Premiership title home once more. But now, it's anybody's trophy. This is the league table as it currently stands. As you can see, Rangers with their game in hand, only 3 points behind Celtic. Should they win their game in hand, then they could go top of the league, because the goal difference isn't that huge between Celtic and Rangers at the minute. There's only 2 goals in it, and of course only 3 points in it. So if that game in hand is played and won and things stay the same points-wise, they could go top of the table. Now, of course, we have midweek games this week, so that could change things once again. Rangers play Aberdeen, who just took points off Celtic, and Celtic play Hibs at Easter Road, a place where Brendan Rodgers has never won a game of football as Celtic manager. 2 very tough games for both of the top sides, but we can't sit here and hope for miracles now. We can't hope that people are going to do us favours and take points off Rangers. Rangers look far more comfortable beating teams around the league than what we do. They look as though they can go and play at home, away from home, and pick up 3 points, whereas at the minute, they're kind of second guessing with Celtic. We struggled against Ross County last week. We dropped points to Aberdeen this week. Against Hibs, that could happen again. And I have, I'm going to be honest, I think Rangers will probably dispose of Aberdeen quite easily. So things aren't in the greatest sort of nick right now here at Celtic, and we need to do the job against Hibs. We need to be much, much better than we have been. And I know it's easy for people to turn around and say, oh, Hibs have been rotten this season, we'll beat them, whatever. Ross County have been awful this season, and we beat them through a deflected goal. So, we can't really count our chickens early in games this season. And it's a little bit tedious as we move into, the kind of last 15 or so games of the season. Let's talk about the weekend very quickly. It was a disaster for Celtic, to be honest. We shouldn't be struggling as much as we did against Aberdeen. Now, I know we had total control of the game in the first half, but we didn't put them to the sword the way we should have with the chances that we did create. We hit the post, we hit the bar, we missed good opportunities. We had total control of the game, and we allowed that control to kind of slip away from us going into the second half, and that has been Celtic this season. Very Jekyll and Hyde performances from us, and that's not how you win league titles. You've got to be strong from start to finish, not over the course of 90 minutes, but over the course of a full season. And the thing is with Celtic, when we get into these wee ruts, it's kind of hard to see where the end of that tunnel is, and when you're going to get out of that darkness. When is the light going to come back and you're going to start playing well again? Because I don't have any confidence to sit here and say it's going to be Wednesday night against Hibs, which is a bit of a problem. We are in a horrible situation. We've seen banners at Pittodrie from the Celtic fans at the weekend directed towards the Celtic board, and they must be looking at themselves right now, probably not caring, but they should be caring. This is the position that they have landed us in. They haven't backed the manager, and I know there's questions around the manager at the minute, and I completely understand and acknowledge that, but they haven't backed the manager. They haven't done their job. We've had 2 shambolic transfer windows this season where we haven't improved on our side. We've regressed, if anything. And it's left us in this position now. It has become the story of 2024 so far for Celtic and the supporters. The fact that we feel shortchanged by the board, we feel like we've been taken for a ride, and it's just the same story year after year. The board have let us down big time. And we're now looking at the possibility of throwing away a league title because of them. That's realistically where we are at the minute. Some people might think that's over-exaggeration, and some people that don't support Celtic might say it's entitlement. It's not entitlement. It's demanding the best out of your board, the people that run your club, with the resources we have there. They published financial statements that said there was £70 million in the bank, and we spent none of it in January. We had a net spend of plus £75,000. We made profit in a transfer window. Shouldn't have been the case. We should have been spending money signing players. We haven't done that. We now go into a second half of the season where we are looking at players not being on form, not scoring goals, players being injured, and I don't know where to go. I don't know where it will go. But we're not in a great situation, and Hibs on Wednesday is going to be massive. We'll talk about that tomorrow in the match preview video, but that could be a game that kills a lot of hopes this season. Talking about injured players and the second half of the season, let's go over the wee bits of news that have come out today, because there isn't much to talk about, but we have got some updates on Rio Hatate and also the future of Paulo Bernardo. So we're going to cover that today. It's a kind of short bulletin for Monday to start off the week, but at least there's news. At least there's something to talk about. Shall we start with the bad news? I've just brought the tone down even further. Rio Hatate has broke his injury silence. Here's the headlines this morning. Rio Hatate breaks injury silence as brutally honest star delivers emotional reality verdict. That has been the headlines going about this morning over a few places. We did get an update from Brendan Rodgers on Rio Hatate's situation, and sadly he is going to be out for 5 to 6 weeks with this calf injury. I say calf injury. It's actually came out that he's injured both of his calves in the major injury blow he suffered at the Asian Cup. So we all spoke about Rio Hatate coming back and being like a new signing for us in this second half of the season. Well, we have another 6 weeks to wait for that new signing to actually come into the side. Of course, Japan went out of the Asian Cup over the past few days. Commiserations to Rio Hatate and Dyson Maeda, which means Dyson Maeda will return to the Celtic fold soon. Probably not as soon as Wednesday night against Hibs, but we will have him back up with the Celtic squad soon. But one guy we won't have is Rio Hatate, which is a shame because we've not really seen him at all this season. He has struggled with these injuries. He, of course, returned from the hamstring injury just after New Year when he played against St Mirren in a brief cameo. We thought that would be him back in the Celtic side for the foreseeable future. But no, he's got to be out for another 5 to 6 weeks, which is absolutely devastating because we know the quality that he has. The only kind of positive that you can look at is it lets Paulo Bernardo carry on his great form because there was a risk of him perhaps being dropped for Hatate coming back. He's got another 5 to 6 weeks to show the Celtic support why we should pay for him and show the Celtic board why we should pay for him in the summer when the transfer window opens. But it still isn't worth the expense of losing Rio Hatate. I'm absolutely gutted that we're not going to see him back. He's someone who I think we need. We're missing 2 key players for this next few weeks. We're going to be missing him. We're going to be missing Cameron Carter-Vickers, who we're still waiting on a kind of ultimatum, not an ultimatum, but a kind of the final verdict on with his injury. We don't know how long he'll be out for, but these are 2 of Celtic's best players who are now going to be out for the foreseeable future. I wish that he wasn't at the Asian Cup so that he could have maybe had time to rest up more and not have the intensity of an international tournament. But that's the way it is, I'm afraid, and that's what we're going to be missing for the next wee while. The kind of depth there in that centre mid area has thinned a little bit, and we've just got to hope that everybody else who is fit at the minute can carry us through, and hopefully no other injuries pile up, or that would be a bit of a disaster. But we are going to be missing him for the next wee while. So I wish him the best with his recovery. I hope we do see him back soon. But players of that quality are players that win you titles. And right now we need title-winning players. That's one we don't have for a bit. That was the bad news. Let's get on to a little bit of good news, if you like. And it's in regards to the man who we've just spoke about, Paulo Bernardo. There has been a suggestion that his future could remain with Celtic by his current Benfica manager, Roger Schmidt. These are the headlines this morning. Paulo Bernardo's Celtic transfer stage chances addressed by Benfica boss Roger Schmidt. The midfielder has found form at Parkhead since arriving on loan. The article goes on to say that Benfica boss Roger Schmid has hinted Paulo Bernardo may fancy a Celtic stay beyond his loan spell this summer. The manager said, "You have to remember, it's also about the will of the player and what he wants to do. With all the players who leave Benfica, the idea is to give them the opportunity to develop and gain confidence. And of course, it's always an excellent opportunity for Benfica to watch them. The aim is to have a good overview of all of the players. But we have to make difficult decisions afterwards at the end of the season because we also have to respect the players' wishes." So, is that Roger Schmid hinting towards the idea that Paulo Bernardo fancies a stay at Celtic? Is he ready to respect the wishes of Paulo Bernardo by allowing him to move on to Celtic? Listen, at the end of the day, they've given us the option to buy the player. There is a set fee in there, which if Celtic trigger, it comes down to Paulo Bernardo's decision anyway. So Roger Schmid really only has power to try and sway him off or on the idea of signing a contract with Benfica or Celtic. There isn't much he can do to stop it if Paulo Bernardo has his heart set on returning to Glasgow. This will come as good news to many Celtic fans because he's been brilliant over the past few months. We've really seen his quality shine through, and a lot of people already fancy him as the Matt O'Reilly replacement should he leave the club in the summer, which is looking incredibly more likely after January. So Paulo Bernardo could be already 1 foot in the door at Celtic. I don't want to take presumptions. I don't know the man. I've not spoke to him, but I think that it would be a move that suits both parties. You know, he's going to come here and play football. You know, we're going to have European football again next season. And obviously, Matt O'Reilly, the man who we're talking about, is the prime example of how you play well at Celtic. You could be on the radars of Atletico Madrid's, Inter Milan's, big clubs across Europe. And that could happen for Paulo Bernardo as well. He knows that leaving Benfica is not a disaster. Look at Jota, who done the exact same thing. So yeah, it's good to hear these sort of comments. I hope that he is kind of swaying towards Celtic. I'd love him to be a permanent Celtic player come the summer. Should the board spend the money? We'll see. And that's about it for today. As I said, quite quiet. There's not much out there in terms of news. January's of course done, so all that transfer speculation will calm down for a couple months. Or should I say, lack of transfer speculation will calm down for a couple of months. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow to do the match preview and talk about how important that Hibs game is and the eventualities that could come from that game. But until then, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time.